What's up, Bears? Eric here, and in today's video, we're going to follow up to the video I did on Friday where we discussed this absolute BS, bigoted, discriminatory ruling from the Supreme Court based on what we thought then could have possibly been a fake case, a hypothetical. And it's a few days later, and it seems like that theory, that concept that it was a fake case that should have never been in front of the Supreme Court, it seems to be picking up momentum. So there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel that maybe we're going to see something done here. And this is really bad for the Supreme Court because there's already a lot of controversy surrounding some of the conservative members of the court. So whatever cover-up was trying to happen here with this case is starting to crumble. You know, the walls are starting to come down and more information is coming out. We're going to read this article, which I think has some really important information on it. But before we do that, I want to just jump into what the premise was on this in case you're not caught up on it and you haven't had a chance to watch the other video. So the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a discriminatory practice of denying someone service based on religious views. And we're talking like stuff in the creative sector. So like making a cake, a custom cake, making a website, doing t-shirts, providing any kind of service where a creative decision has to be made. I'm assuming, the more I've read it, I assume that's what it is. There might be more to it. We'll keep an eye on it and see like if we see more of these come down the pipeline now the ruling has happened. But I talked about how predatory this was because it is a very targeted decision when it comes to marginalized communities in small towns and in places where they don't have options for things. And I got a lot of really hateful comments, no big surprise, from people who wanted to gaslight us, wanted to make me think that I'm creating straw mans or false equivalents. Look, you guys are just bigots. You're all bigots, and you got the ruling that you wanted, and that's not enough for you. So now that we're saying, hey, we don't agree with the ruling, now you have to jump in and dogpile and continue to talk shit to us and try and gaslight us and make us feel stupid. We're not stupid. We've been right about this all along. I'll give you one example. In Florida, it was supposedly all about the kids, which is why that Don't Say Gay bill happened, was because it was supposedly about the kids. And we kept saying, this isn't going to be just applied to kids. It's going to keep going. It's going to get worse. And now we have issues where adults can't even get proper health care. Certain surgeries can't be done in Florida for people who are over the age of 18, over the age of 21, clearly adults. There's bathroom issues in Florida. There's other things in Florida that came from the basis of that case. We have been right at every turn about this. So save me by saying that we're gaslighting or that we're overreacting. We clearly have proof of this happening. This case, in general, should have never made it to the Supreme Court if what's being found is absolutely true. So let's read this quickly and then I'll give my thoughts on it here. It says, Supreme Court LGBTQ fake case could be reversed. It says here, as backlash grows over the Supreme Court's recent decision to rule in favor of a Christian designer who didn't want to make a wedding website for a gay couple in 303 Creative v. Ilinis, allegations that the case hinged on a fake claim are gaining strength. They're doing more on it. They're figuring out more about this, and I want this to go all the way. I want them to dig and dig and dig until they actually find, because look, if there's nothing wrong, then we've done this before. We've had investigations that pull nothing up, you know, but I feel like if there's any possibility that something wrong is done here, they need to pursue it. So I absolutely 100% support this. It says lawyer Neil Katyal, who as acting solicitor general between 2010 and 2011 argued more than 50 cases in front of the Supreme Court, said if the case turned out to be based on a fake claim, as he said it would appear, the court's decision could be officially stricken. On Friday, the court's conservative majority delivered a blow to LGBTQ rights nationwide, ruling 6-3 in favor of Colorado graphic artist Lori Smith, who had refused to design a website for a same-sex couple's wedding despite state law barring discrimination based on sexual orientation, race, gender, and other characteristics. We'll talk more about that in a minute. The Supreme Court voted to defend Smith's free speech under the Constitution's First Amendment, opening the way for artists to refuse work that, as the court puts it, goes against their beliefs. But recently reporting that the New Republic revealed that the name of the plaintiff in the case alleged the gay man who had asked Smith to design a wedding website for himself and his husband-to-be, Stewart, had never made a similar request. In fact, Stewart, whose name, address, and contact information could be found in court filings, was married to a woman at the time the request to Smith was allegedly made, and he had never heard about the case, as he told TNR. Stewart's theory is that someone, potentially Smith and her attorneys, used his information to invent the case of a gay couple asking a Christian designer for a wedding website. This is a problem. If this is all true, the case itself should be stricken. The ruling should be stricken. This should have never even been in front of the Supreme Court. It should have never even came up in front of the Supreme Court. And look, when it comes to beliefs in discrimination, I think as someone who works in the industry, you should be able to say, hey, if it's a cake that is wishing harm on somebody or is saying something about someone that could be considered slanderous or something like that, or anything that could possibly break the law, you have every right to be like, I don't want to make that. But if somebody simply wants to make a congratulation cake for a couple or a congratulation cake for a friend or a coworker or something, and it happens to be something that you necessarily don't practice in your own life, whatever that may be, I don't think you should be able to just go, no, I'm not going to do it specifically for that reason. That makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me why anybody would feel compelled not to do that, considering you are not a part of that person's life. You don't condone necessarily what people are doing, but still you should have to make that product for somebody who is willing to pay for it. I don't think you should be able to discriminate based on someone's sexuality, someone's gender, someone's race, someone's religion. I don't think those things should be allowed to be discriminated against. You can't discriminate hiring me because of my gender, sexuality, race, religion. So why should you be able to prevent me from purchasing something from you for those same things? That makes no sense whatsoever, which is why I believe that this case is going to be, if it stands, it is going to be used as a citation in cases that are trying to take away protections from marginalized groups. I truly believe that. It goes on to here say that Katyal said the court's decision could be stricken if it was in fact not actually based on a serious claim. The U.S. Supreme Court is bound. Our founders in Article 3 said you have to have an actual case or controversy in order to go to the United States Supreme Court and seek relief. Here's the deal, though. They've already lied. If perjury has already been committed, if people have already lied under oath, then they can't change that now and go, oh, it's based on a controversy. You can't do that. You would have had to do that from the beginning, and they did not do that. They went in under false pretenses. Here, it's a fake case according to the story. There's no controversy. The person never wanted to be involved in this in any way, shape, or form. He continued adding the Colorado Attorney General should be going back to the United States Supreme Court now. It's a tragedy they didn't find this information out before, but there's a procedure to seek rehearing to get this decision stricken from the book, and I think that's what should happen here, he added. And then it goes on to say, the potential striking of the court's decision would have the LGBT communities and advocates rejoicing after having expressed dismay at Friday's ruling. The ruling was backed by the conservative justices only. The liberal justice dissented, saying the rationale behind the conservative majority's decision cannot be limited to discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity, which is what I just said. I don't think anybody should be legally protected by that. I don't. I know there's going to be disagreements with me in that, and I get it. I understand if people disagree with me, but I just for a second, imagine you live in a community where you only have one option of places to go to get things done, and they could literally tell you no because you're gay. That is discrimination. That is discrimination. You interact with people all day, every day who are not the same as you. What is the difference in making a cake with something that says Steve loves Adam on it and working at Burger King and selling food to Steve and Adam? What difference is that? There's no difference in that. There's no difference in that type of transaction. Because you're making a cake for them is no different than selling them food. It's no different than selling them groceries. It's no different than working on their car. They are still the same person whether you choose to discriminate to them based on creative or not creative. This is just a loophole for bigots to be bigots. That's all this is. I see it in the comments. People are going to come under this video. I know it already. They're going to come under this video and they're going to talk shit. They're going to keep trying to say, oh, blah, 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 this and that or whatever. They are just bigoted, homophobic, transphobic people. And they are looking for every excuse they can to do it legally. That is all this is. That's why this fake case exists. So they can take this now and cite this one when they are arguing other cases for protected classes. Like I said before, you can't discriminate on somebody's hiring practice based on any of these things. So why should you just be able to discriminate based on somebody purchasing something from you? It makes no sense. And my true belief is, and you're going to say I'm gaslighting and I'm creating these false narratives, but just if this case stands, the next thing they're going to come after is protected classes in hiring. Somebody who works at like a Christian bookstore or something like that is going to say, hey, I had someone come in and try to get hired as a gay person, and I didn't want to hire them based on belief. And this case says that I don't have to make things for people based on belief. So why do I have to hire someone based on my, what, you know, goes against my beliefs? That is the next thing that is coming if this case stands. If this case stands, that's the next thing that's coming. And that's exactly what that community wants. You have to start somewhere, and this is the beginning of that. This should be stricken. It should be taken down. It should not move forward if it proves to be false, and it's looking more and more like it is. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comments below. Take care.